Oh god, still getting used to it. We need chairs without
Don't
arms.
break that. You just smacked your chair up against the piano or the keyboard.
Oh god. Oh, what? It's so tiny. This room is so tiny.
It is so tiny.
But it's like huge but tiny. I feel like we just need different stands. We need a boom, like a
yeah, we
one
really
that's not,
do.
because these are so awkwardly placed.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching these videos where he came in of like, oh, it's so gross, but like the best kind of gross, like ingrown toenail removal videos. I don't know how I got there.
Because you had an ingrown toenail.
Well, I wasn't looking it up because of that. I was just on Snapchat, and I now remember how I got there. I was on Snapchat, and I was scrolling. You know how they have like the news feeds or whatever. I was just scrolling through, and one of them was just like, "Look at these toenail transformations," and it was like these people who had like these nasty ass toenails, like nasty.
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
So they would like clip them, and then they would like cut off all the part of the nail they don't need, and then they would put resin, like resin on it, like you would use like, for
glue.
wood, like glue. It's basically just glue, and then they would shape it into the shape of a nail, and then they would.
Oh, you mean acrylic?
No, it was just resin. It wasn't acrylic. Maybe it is acrylic. I don't know. I really don't. All I know is that they ended up painting the toenails, and it looked like they were fine. And I was like, I just need that. Where do you go?
Okay, you saw that on Snapchat?
Yeah.
I think I watched the exact same thing this morning.
Yeah, was it with what's his face?
That guy?
Perfect face guy with the spiky head?
Yep.
Yep.
Watched the exact same thing.
Heck yeah.
That is definitely acrylic.
Was it?
Yeah.
I've never. Like,
That's how you get your toenail. Like, I mean, that's not how you get your toenails done. But like, if you are missing part of your nail, you put acrylic there until the nail grows out. Or maybe there's something else that people use. I always thought it was acrylic.
I've never, and I'm sure you can tell by the way I'm talking, I've never been to a.
You should go to a nail salon. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it. I haven't because I'm really, really lazy. That's probably the biggest problem with all this. Just being lazy.
I don't think it's you being lazy.
No?
I just don't think you want to go.
I don't want to go.
Yeah.
It feels like really weird. Just walk into a nail salon and be like, touch my feet.
Yeah, you need someone to go
please.
with you the first time, I think, so that you're comfortable.
I need a girlfriend.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Could really use one of those.
Yeah, we can always use one of those in my life. Look at us doing a podcast.
Kind of.
I mean, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're doing right now. So I guess let's just kind of jump into it. Let me open my computer. Pause for awkward silence while I open my computer.
Should have already had this done.
I did.
I already have
it's
everything.
Open. It's done. Perfect. See? I told you.
Okay, my laptop takes like 10 minutes to
but
start
you don't have
up.
a cool gamer laptop.
Cool gamer laptop.
Yeah, cool. Oh, I gotta get the hand motions in there. You can't see, but we're doing hand motion. It's like gang signs, but for gamers.
It's literally not gang signs. It's just like backwards jazz hands.
Okay, cool. So this is what did we end up calling it?
Media for the intellectually impoverished.
Yes, media for the intellectually impoverished. Impoverished. Yes, I can say the name of our own podcast. I swear. Yeah. So this is a podcast for people who like video games, who like music, who like television, who like movies, who like any type of media, but you want to take a deeper dive into it, and it's sort of just a very laid back way of us chit chatting about stuff that we like and we enjoy, and being able to look at these things that we're studying right now and take a. You wanna take a shot at explaining this?
Just to take a deeper dive into these different medias and to just go over basically what we're learning about right now. Like, I mean, we're college students, but also just to help you guys if you guys are interested in these topics and things that we can give you a starting point.
Definitely. I like the fact that we're pretending that we have viewers, even though it's probably just going to be our friends and maybe our mothers.
Say that.
I mean, I'm just saying, no one's going to hear this one for like another month and a half.
Okay.
So, but you know, they're still
so we
there.
can say anything.
We can say whatever we want. No repercussions. So this first episode is sort of centered around on my paper, my notes, I wrote indie shit. So this is independent.
Great.
Yeah, independent movies, independent films. I don't know a whole bunch about the indie music scene, but we'll probably dive into music a little bit, but just I guess we should probably introduce ourselves. So
should have been the first thing we did.
Maybe, but
it's okay. But we got there.
It happened. First time around. So that over there, that's Randi.
Hi.
She does stuff. You talk about what you do. I just wanted to say your name.
You just wanted to say my name? Yeah. Hi, I'm Randi, or Randaloni. That's my new favorite nickname. Cinema major. Want to go into the film industry and be a director of films. I love Disney. We won't talk about that too much. I mean, maybe one day we'll have an episode about it. Ooh. But I love Disney. And that's pretty much all I want to say right now.
Yeah, that's all you have? That's just the one thing about you?
You caught me off guard.
I'm sorry, okay?
What else did you want me to say?
I don't know. I
played volleyball in high school.
No one cares about that.
I was salutatorian in high school.
Wow, even less people care about that.
I know.
It's amazing how little they care.
Nobody asks you about your GPA from high school or in college, apparently.
I put it on one resume, and I'm positive that they didn't even look at it. I only put it on there to be like, I'm a studier of school. I went to school. Mm-hmm. Ooh.
And that over there is Taylor.
Yes, Trey Taylor. Trey's my government name. It's the name my parents gave. It's so bad to say. Sorry, Mom.
Government name. I've never heard. I don't think anyone's referred to it as government name. It's your legal name.
I think it's funnier to say. Whatever. I love my name that I was given as a kid. But even so, I decided to change it to a new one. Sorry, Mama. I introduced myself as Taylor. So, cool. I am an interactive media major, which is a fancy way of saying I play video games all the time. Basically. I want to do something. I'm not really sure yet. I do art and I play video games, and that is the extent of my being as of right now.
That's all you're going to say about yourself?
That's all I'm going to say about myself. No, in high school, I was in a marching band.
No one cares about high school.
I was number 5 in my class.
No one cares.
No. Yeah, that's us. That's your co-hosts. This really started as a little bubble of an idea for me, just to be able to sit back and talk about this stuff that I'm really interested in. At first, it was really just going to be about like video games, because that's my niche. That's all I knew about. And then one day I was talking with Randi, and we were talking about, I don't remember what, but I just had this thought. I was like, she has a lot to talk about, and she has interesting conversation topics as well, and she's just a fun person. And I was like, that'd be a really cool person to co-host with. And so I asked her, I was like, would you like to be in a podcast with me? And she said no.
Yes, I said no. No, I was obviously happy to have a podcast or make a podcast with Taylor. I mean, this is what we do normally, is just we have conversations about like video games and movies, mostly movies, because I don't really know much about video games. But that's the point of this, is to learn.
Yes, we're going to learn about each other's medium. Yeah, no, so today is sort of just the indie vibe. Just going through my notes. An independent film or an independent video game is something that's not associated with the higher up producing companies. So 20th Century Fox, Paramount Pictures, Columbia. Mm-hmm. Video game wise, that would be like Rockstar Games or any of the AAA names. Microsoft typically has a hand in a lot of games. So these are games that are, or movies that are outside of that box of production, mm-hmm. which honestly, I think one of the things I'm going to talk about is in video game world, it kind of gives you this liberty and this freedom to work around a lot of because a lot of the producers are like, how am I going to make money off of this if it's not some big bombastic action shooter?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with films. I mean, all of the independent films that I've recently been studying up on, it's all, I mean, because they're independent, they're not with a studio, and so that gives you the liberty to not have these producers breathing down your back about how are we going to make money and do these things, and it has to be G-rated, and it has to, like, fit all of these certain standards, and like you said, tick off the boxes and things like that, and so that's the liberty that comes with being an independent film or video game.
Definitely. I have so many notes here, but I guess I'll just start with like the first thing that came to my mind. Video game wise, one of my favorite two video games, just in general, is Hollow Knight and Shovel Knight. Unrelated, two completely different like stories, two completely different producers, two completely different companies and designers, all that stuff. They just both happen to have the name Knight at the end, and I don't know if it's just because I like the Knight aesthetic or if it's just because they were both really good games. So let's just toss that out the window. No, so let me start with Hollow Knight. So that's a game based around you're like a little bug guy, and wow, when I try to explain the plot to someone new to this kind of stuff, it's gonna sound so weird. But basically, you're a little bug guy, and you are this quote vessel for some kind of otherworldly sickness, I guess, that has plagued this country of bug people. So basically, the gist of it is you're diving down in sort of a Metroidvania style, which is a style popularized by the Metroid games and the Castlevania games, which has a lot of backtracking, has a lot of map working, and it's typically extremely difficult. So Hollow Knight uses that aesthetic in a cartoony vibe. So everything's 2D drawn, 2D hand. I wouldn't say hand drawn, but definitely has that aesthetic to it, 2D cartoony. But it doesn't sort of lack anything theme-wise, I guess. So you're traveling through this city underground, and you're discovering the lore of where this sickness came from. And it's I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but it goes extremely deep, both into the earth and into the lore. And it's just a very, very fun, well-developed, well-designed, extremely playable, accessible game for anyone that loves a good video game romp.
Romp.
Yeah.
No, that sounds really interesting, and I think I've heard of it before. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong game, but I think I've seen like ads for it around, and it does really sound familiar.
Yeah, no, if it's got the main character is basically just like a white head. Imagine if you took a beetle, turned it on its like stomach, and it was just plain white.
Yeah.
And it's wearing a robe, and he's got like a lance almost.
So I've definitely seen ads for that, and it looks interesting. But I mean, I'm not a video game kind of gal, so I've never played it.
I think we've laid the groundwork for that idea pretty solid.
I really want to drill it into them.
No, I guess one of the things that I really enjoyed about the game was the gameplay takes like a couple leaps and bounds away from the typical Metroidvania gameplay, because usually that's just sort of like, I mean, it's got some of the same aspects. As you go, you unlock new skills and you become stronger, and you get the ability to do certain things, and you fight these big old bad boss guys. And I don't really feel like it was constrained to this progressive idea. So a lot of Metroidvania games would be like, oh, I have to travel all the way back to this part and do this one thing that's very niche specific. It feels very much like it unfurls at a nice pace that allows you to really just sort of grasp it for the story as well as the gameplay. So,
yeah, that's really interesting. What did you say? It was based on like a virus, right? Is that
kinda? So, there's this sort of infected thing. It's really difficult to describe because it's been a while since I've played it. But from what what?
How dare you?
I'm sorry. It was a good game. I beat it last year. Like I played it and 100% completed it, bought the DLC, 100% complete the DLC. It was just like, it's so much fun to play, and I just got way into it, and it was just way too much of my time in front of a computer playing a video game. But not, that's kind of my thing, I guess. But yeah, no, so you're trying to find the source of this virus, and help rid the world of this virus, and you uncover this plot from these kings a long time ago, and you basically have to go and kill gods. Typical.
You're typical, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think I wanted you to clarify, because that's something that like I found when I was going through these independent films, is not only do they have more liberty, they also touch on like darker topics. And so that's why I was asking about like a virus. I mean, especially in the age of COVID, like it's a very touchy subject kind of now, and maybe a lot of like the big producers and studio companies and things like that wouldn't want to make a game about that.
Yeah, I mean, this was made in 2016, 2017, long before COVID.
Yeah.
But they're currently working on its prequel, I believe.
Okay.
Silk Song, and it plays. While it's got the same aesthetic, it's based off of a different character. You're playing a different character, completely different moveset. I have played the demo for it, and good lord, it's so much fun. Can't wait till it comes out, but obviously it's going to be a little bit delayed due to everyone having to work from home, all of that good stuff. But no, it definitely touches on sort of darker themes of tyranny and a quest for power.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do like about it is that even if you're like a young kid, you can still play it and not feel like you
not feel bogged down by it.
Yeah, because the game is very much sort of like it's optional. Like it's very cryptic, and to the point where like if I was an 8-year-old playing it, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, this king took over the entire country and then murdered 1,000 of his children to try and gain one that had power.
Mm-hmm.
And as a kid, I'm just like, oh man, this looks so pretty. Look at that guy. I can jump. I can get stabbed by the nails and scream and throw my controller across the room.
No, definitely. The themes, even though they're there, they're not seen by like the younger audiences and things like that.
But what's nice is it's still able to market it towards those younger audiences because of its cartoonish style.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which that really draws me to it. I hate saying that I saw the ads, but I did see the ads. That's all I can bring to this. But I mean, they are very cute, and it's that kind of very like animated like style that I really like, and those would be the type of games that I would play if I did play video games. But yeah, it does really draw you in. Yeah.
Another one, I don't want to keep talking about video games for forever because that's not all this is about. We're talking about the animated aesthetic. One game, an independent game I'm going to mention that everyone's forgotten it's an independent game is Cuphead.
Oh, I love that game.
Thank you. Cuphead is brilliant in its execution and its design. It was hand-drawn, hand-animated backgrounds and character designs.
Yeah.
For the entire game, it's just a beautiful, beautiful game. If you live under a rock and you haven't heard of Cuphead yet, look it up.
I mean, I've heard of it.
Yeah,
so
if Randy's heard of it, anyone's heard of it. But it's sort of this 1930s cartoon aesthetic of the sort of squashy, stretchy kind of idea that we saw in those animations back in the day. And it takes that and it turns it into a 2-player kind of shoot 'em up boss rush kind of game. And it is just gorgeous to play, beautiful soundtrack.
Absolutely beautiful. Again, another, like, because of the style, I didn't play it, and I'm going to get a lot of hate. I watch other people play video games.
I think that's a valid thing to do, because people are always like, my dad specifically, I love him to death, but he's always like, why are you watching other people play these video games? Why don't you just play them yourself? And then I ask him the question, why are you watching other people play sports?
Exactly.
Why don't you play it yourself? And he's like, it's just about the atmosphere and stuff. And I'm like, it's the same idea here. So like you watch, YouTubers, popular YouTubers play these video games. One, because you probably don't have the money to buy the video game yourself, or you don't have the means to get the video game, or you just enjoy watching other people play video games, and that's fine.
I also think it's based on skill. At least that's how I've always looked at it. What's the word? I don't have
You're not coordinated?
Hand-eye coordination. So I can't play like video games. If I do, it takes me a really long time to finally like get the skill and like do the one action that I need to do. So I watch them because if I were to play it, I would be stuck on one level and eventually just give up. So I can watch other people who are actually skilled at video games and who have been playing video games their whole lives and see them actually like beat the game. And I think it's the same way with sports. I mean, people who can't really play sports watch sports.
Yeah, and I mean that's exactly what those people intend, but off of that tangent, heckin' Cuphead, man, it's just perfection. It was great.
It was beautiful, like you said, and I didn't know that they were hand drawn.
Yeah, no, they designed all of the characters hand drawn. I'm not sure whether or not the actual models themselves were hand drawn. I do know that all of the like the backgrounds were hand painted and then imported over. And man, it'd be really embarrassing if I was wrong though, like really embarrassing, because I'm like so certain, but I'm pretty sure.
Everyone makes mistakes. We're only human.
But no, and I mean the reason it came about is the two designers were brothers, and when they were kids, they were always like, man, I could never play a game with my brother, as either one of us plays at a time, or we take turns playing the same game. And they were like, let's design a game that two people can play at a time that's sort of centered around this two-player basis. And then they were like, what do we like? We like the animated aesthetics of the 1930s. And so they sort of threw all that together. They had a design team put it together. It was great. Great, great, great. I love it. Can't get enough of it.
Say great one more time.
Great.
Perfect. I think we really solidified it. Okay, I'm going to jump in over here to some independent movies, and I actually want to go back to what we were talking about before. I mean, like the deeper themes and things like that, and especially for the like the themes that maybe go over some kids' heads. So this was a movie that is, I don't know how well known it is. I think I brought it up with you when we first started talking about this, but Juno.
Oh, yeah. I'd heard of it, but I had no idea.
You've never seen it?
I'd never seen it.
But yeah, the movie, it talks about teen pregnancy, obviously, and it doesn't show, I mean, it shows her almost getting an abortion, which is like such a risky thing, I feel like nowadays is to show.
When did it come out?
Oh, it came out in 2007, I want to say.
That was like before there was a lot of like, that was before the Me Too movement. And all that stuff that's sort of like, I don't know if that was part of it, but that was definitely like just women empowerment, being able to decide what you want to do with yourself and your body and all of that. That's a risky move.
But she goes into this abortion clinic, and there's this girl standing outside, and she's talking about how they can feel everything. The babies, they feel everything, and they have fingernails. And then as she goes in, she's sitting there, and like everybody's like scratching with their fingernails and doing things. And then she realizes she can't go through with it, and she runs back outside, and she talks to the girl, and she's like, because she wanted to go through with it, but now she felt like she can't. Anyways, heavy topics. And then when she does decide to keep the baby, she puts it up for adoption. And when she finds a family that's going to take it, the husband, because I was going to say dad, he's not a dad, the husband actually begins having feelings for her. So
for the pregnant
girl. And so she's like, then you really start thinking about it, like, this is wrong. I mean, yeah, it's your child. I mean, you're going to adopt it, but that's a child having a child.
Oh, because it was a teen. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funky fresh, yo.
Yeah.
That ain't chill. Mm-hmm. I don't vibe with that.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I didn't even notice that when I was younger. And if you look at other films and things, like another one that I was looking at was Heathers. It talks about all of these are also, I mean, Juno was rated PG-13, which is surprising, but all of the other ones that I wanted to talk about or that I have written down are rated R. So that's really, I think, with independent films, you really see this liberty to really just talk about what you want without the pressures of studios and, oh, nobody's gonna watch that and we shouldn't talk about that, that's taboo and things like that. Mm-hmm. But with Heathers, I love this movie. Have you ever seen it? Heard of it?
Ask me again.
Have you ever seen it?
No.
Oh, come on. Okay. Heathers, it's about this, like, it's kind of like Mean Girls. It was Mean Girls before Mean Girls.
Cool. I didn't see Mean Girls.
Oh, okay. Anyways, it's about this clique in high school, and they're the Heathers. There's 3 main girls. They're all named Heather. And then there's Veronica Sawyer. I was about to say Victoria Sawyer. No, Veronica Sawyer. And she's being like bullied by all of these other people.
By the Heathers?
Not by the Heathers.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she is like in with the Heathers. So she's like part of them, but like on the outskirts, she's still becoming one of them. It's like, you've never seen Mean Girls. It's like, she's becoming part of the clique. At the beginning of the movie, she's...
The Heather clique?
Yes, she's becoming
clique
part
of Heathers.
The clique of Heathers.
Gotcha.
Yes, but there's all of this bullying going around, and the Heathers are bullying other people, and they're trying to get Veronica to bully other people, and all of these things. And as you get through the movie, it gets very, very heavy, and I don't want to really like spoil anything, but there's a lot of death, and there's a lot of suicide throughout the movie.
Oh.
And it's very heavy. And again, those are things that you don't see in mainstream movies. You don't see them really talked about, at least not to the extent that these movies do.
Yeah, like we said, there's definitely some liberty, like not more, there's a lot of
no, most definitely, because you're also, for independent films, you also don't have money coming in from really anywhere, so you have to raise the money and you have to find the people to make the movie. So it's all up to you.
Yeah, and that's another big thing, because if people put an investment into your game or into your movie, they're going to expect a return on that. And they're going to sometimes, if they put enough money into it, they're going to expect like a piece of the decision making. And so working independently and raising your own funds and doing that Kickstarter or all clicky clacky chair.
It's okay.
Doing that Kickstarter and getting all of your own funds accumulated, it really does allow you to find the people that are like interested in your work for its work and not interested in it for the money.
Yeah. You have to find that balance when you're doing it by yourself, because as you don't have somebody breathing down your neck saying that, oh, you can't do this because it won't sell. You need to find that balance of like, well, this is the message that I want to send. And all of these movies do have a message, which I think is it. I mean, all movies have a message, but especially with these.
Do all movies have a message?
I think so. I like to believe that they do. I mean, because all movies have
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I've never seen that.
Oh, well, then there you go.
Okay, maybe every movie doesn't have a message. I'm sure I could find a message in it.
Do you want to watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space together?
Okay.
Cool.
No, I mean, because all movies have a conflict, and most of the time that conflict is resolved by the end of the movie, and then you learn something from that conflict. And so with Heathers, I got off topic. What I was saying is that every movie has a message, and you have to find the balance between wanting to talk about your message and also making sure that people will actually watch it without being too traumatized by it. But with... Did you want to say something?
Well, no, I was just thinking there are some movies and some directors you definitely do not care if you're traumatized by their movie.
No, that's definitely true. I can bring up the movie that I want to talk about, The Devil All the Time. It recently came out, like, 2 weeks ago. It has Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Bill Skarsgård.
Was that?
That's Pennywise.
That's Pennywise. Okay.
Sebastian Stan, Harry Melling. There's a lot of it's a A-list cast. But this movie definitely, this is what I was trying to say, agreeing with you that some movies, the directors don't care if it traumatizes you. And if you watch this movie, it is very heavy. It talks about religion in this like small town in Ohio. I was about to say Idaho. No, Ohio. I don't want to spoil it, but it's really bad. It shows the bad sides of religion. It shows when you believe too much and when you have like people in authority like preachers or priests and things who take advantage of their congregation and things like that. And it gets very heavy very quickly, and I don't want to spoil it, but things happen immediately and you're like, what? Where are we now? Why is this happening?
Wait, so like you're talking like are we talking like 5 minutes into the film? Are we talking like 20 minutes into the film?
We're talking like 20 minutes into the film.
Whew. Like you finish like the exposition and they're just like drop
immediately
that bomb.
In it, and it doesn't get better. Like you think you would watch it and you think, okay, it's gonna get better. Because it's a conflict and it's gonna rise and it's gonna have a beautiful ending. It just keeps down.
Wait, who was the director on this one?
Antonio Campos.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to give him credit for destroying your life.
I really want people to watch it, but I also, because a lot of us are, I know, religious and things like that, and so I don't want you to watch it and then you bash it because of that. I mean, I think it's an accurate representation of what can happen in like small towns and things like that when you don't have these good forces, or you don't have like the internet and things to tell you like what's really right, and not just to follow this preacher blindly, you know? And that's the thing that I think people are taking away from it. I know we're supposed to be talking about independent films, but let me just get on my soapbox. My soapbox?
Dude, you have more than one soap? Bro, how many soaps you got in that box?
My soap
That's the episode title right there.
No.
How many soaps you got in that box?
No, but I think people are looking at it and they're seeing it as just a bash for religion and that you should not believe at all and things like. I think it's a good warning of what can happen when you don't have these other good forces, when you don't have a variety of information coming in and you're supposed to rely on this one person. But there's also this like lineage that is passed down through the families of these bad habits that they have when it comes to religion. Like one of them doesn't believe, and then the next one believes way too much to the point where they're sacrificing animals and all of these things, and it gets really bad.
That happens.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't want people to watch it and think it's a complete bash at religion. I just think it's like another side of it that most people don't really think about.
Yeah, there's, and a good director is able to distinguish between the two, and sort of toe that line of saying, I'm not bashing religion, I'm bashing what people can do with it or what some people take it to.
Yeah. Okay, one thing before you go back and you bring up your video game. Because I was talking about messages, and I wanted to get to the end of. So at the end of Juno, she does end up giving the baby away, and you learn that maybe as hard as teen pregnancy is, and all of these things, that it's not like the end of you. That you still have a life that goes on after it. And with Heather's, with all these bullies and suicides and killings, because there is a little bit of murder in there.
Oh, we love that.
That you can, I guess, get through that there is another side. There's, especially when you talk about depression and suicide and things like that, you feel so hopeless and you feel like there's no way out, but this movie shows that there is a way out and that you have the choice to decide to get out of that.
Nice. We love good messages. What I really wanted to talk about really bad is these two games that I played when I was a kid. One of them is called Shadow of the Colossus.
I love it.
You love it?
I love it.
Have you seen it?
Never played it because I don't play video games. I've watched people play it. Beautiful.
Oh,
absolutely drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah, and I played the original PS2 version.
I've seen it played. I've seen the old version played, and I've seen the newer version played.
It is just phenomenal. It takes what's this idea of minimalism. You heard of that before? Minimalism in games and in game design. There's the same thing you see in movies sometimes, but definition-wise, I really wanted to talk about minimalism because I want to sit on this for a while.
Okay, go ahead.
The minimalism is a style or technique that is characterized by sparseness and simplicity. And there's multiple styles of minimalism in video games. There could be graphical minimalism. There could be story, like thematic minimalism. There can be minimalism in dialogue. They can do. There's just 1,000 things that you can do. And Shadow of the Colossus is very much minimalistic in it. I would say almost it's gameplay almost, because you're set up as this prince who's attempting to revive his princess or his lost lover. In order to do that, this god basically says you have to kill these 16 colossi that roam these lands, and if you bring me their souls, then I'll bring her back to life. And so you go around and just slaying these big boys. And the first Colossus that you face is possibly one of the most cinematically jaw-dropping moments in all of video gaming history. Okay, I mean, of course, as it goes on, they get bigger and they get more over the top, and then the final one is literally the size of 4 buildings. It's huge. But this first one, before you've seen any of the Colossus before, you climb up the side of this mountain and you get up to the top of the mountain, and then the camera pans to the right, and you see this slow, lumbering beast just walking and cracking the ground as he walks, and he just passes by you without a care in the world. And then you're supposed to just go up, jump on the poor boy's leg, and then climb up the side of his body and kill him. And the way that they frame killing the Colossi is just so beautifully, heartbreakingly tragic.
Yeah.
they play this very, very sad music over it while the Colossus falls to the ground in slow motion and there's blood spraying everywhere. And then you get injected with, I guess, can only be described as the soul of the Colossus. And then you black out and wake up back in the starting area. But I found a quote from Guillermo del Toro saying that he does play video games, apparently, which I found out. He said in 2008 that Eco and Shadow of the Colossus were, quote, the only 2 games I consider masterpieces.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, that's insane.
It's insane. Guillermo del Toro, all I know is he's a famous director. I couldn't tell you what movies he's made. Mm-hmm. Could you?
No.
Okay.
I've heard of him. Let's find out.
Pan's Labyrinth. He made Pan's Labyrinth. Yes. I knew I recognized his name.
Yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
Man. Have you seen Pan's Labyrinth?
I haven't, but I've watched a lot of the behind the scenes of how they made that movie. Oh my God. And it's insane how they created
crazy.
that.
The puppetry.
Yes.
The prosthetics. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. I don't get how you can come up with those creatures. You must just be a little bit off.
I think anyone that makes a movie has to be a little bit off.
That's true.
Right.
I mean, but especially for horror movies and for these types of movies to come up with completely unique structures of
that's not
beings.
All just him.
No, it's not. But I mean, I saw the ideas. Because I watched so many behind the scenes of it because I think it's incredible. But I saw the designs that they had of like the very first rough drafts and then what they became. And some of them he had said had come from like nightmares and things that he had or that other people had. And then they did like rough sketches of them. And then they made them like even more scary and all added these things to them. It's just crazy.
Mm-hmm. He was the director, writer, and producer of Pan's Labyrinth.
I'm pretty sure that Pan's Labyrinth is considered an indie film as well.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure. Especially for that time. When did it come out?
Pan's Labyrinth?
Yeah.
Ah, poopy.
Really?
I just had it up.
Yeah, I want to say 2006.
06.
Okay, I was close. 2007.
Yeah, that's just your guess for all movies, 2007.
No, well, I knew that the other one was 2007, and this one I knew was about the same time. But especially back then, because special effects and CGI and all of those things, they weren't prominent. They were just, like, getting started, and they were about to hit their, like, stride into getting really good. 2005 to 2010 of CGI is when it really took off and started getting really good and realistic. And so this was before then, and just the techniques, because when you don't have what you need, the ideas that come out of it so that you get what you need is just incredible.
Yeah. I just think that the practical effect work on that is it's beautiful to see this mixture of practical and special effects.
Yeah.
Right. You don't see it as often anymore because it's typically a lot cheaper just to have some guy in a room
exactly
just build your set virtually and do all that stuff. But again, indie films they don't need that. They used a lot of practical effects in Hereditary, I believe.
I wouldn't. I mean, I've seen it, but I wouldn't. I don't know.
Pretty sure when the little girl has her head all.
Oh yeah.
Pretty sure that was that wasn't CGI.
I don't think so. No.
No, it was for realsies. They actually knocked her head off.
Yeah. She's no longer with us. No.
You know the time they killed that girl in the movie?
No, yeah, and yeah, it's what you have to get done when you're an independent filmmaker, and I see a lot of people here who are cinema majors and they want to go into independent filmmaking, and those are the things that they're gonna have to come up with.
Yeah.
I mean, but what you said about CGI is definitely getting cheaper. It's easier to just do that than to make all of these other props and use the old-fashioned techniques, and it's
just a heck of a lot more convincing when you do it the old-fashioned way, though, because like even old-fashioned CGI had practical effects in it. Star Wars, not an indie film.
Not an indie film, but
maybe
when it started.
It started as an indie film. LucasArts hadn't done. I guess you could consider that an indie film. But that was before like an indie film was like a terminology.
Yeah.
It was still a major blockbuster. Anyway, doesn't matter. They mixed practical and special effects in a way that they had green screens, right?
Yeah.
They also used miniatures with the green screens.
And I think that's so, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like, when you want to get what you want, when you have this idea in your head and you don't just have, like, CGI to just put it in there, or special effects and all of these things, you have to come up with those ideas. We recently watched Citizen Kane for my media studies class, and there's this scene where he's up on stage, and you've seen Citizen Kane?
I watched half of it and then left.
Okay, but he's standing up on stage and he's having like this political rally, and so they couldn't have like 200 people sitting. Like, how do you film 200 people sitting in this big auditorium, especially back then? So what they did was they cut out holes in a piece of paper to make like the heads, and then they shined a flashlight behind it to make it look like the people were moving. And so when you watch it, you think that there's a bunch of people sitting in all of these chairs, but really it's just a piece of paper with like a flashlight moving around behind it.
Like on the like in real time, like on the camera?
Yeah.
They just had.
I mean, you see him on stage.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And
so
it's silhouetted.
It's yeah.
So they're just like they taped a piece of paper to the camera and then.
I'm not sure if they taped the piece of paper to the camera, but they held it in front of her. It was in front, and it was live. Yeah, and so that's what they were. That's how they got the effect of people moving around in the stands and people watching. This is such a perfect topic, especially for what I'm learning in my class right now, because we're learning about the studio system, especially back then, and it hasn't changed much. Back then, it was this assembly line of movies where you had these same people working with these same directors, same crew, same all of this, because all the studios wanted to do was just pop out movies. And so when you signed a contract, you signed it with the studio, and you said, I will work with you for as long as I'm an actress, and I will only be in your movies. And if I want to go to another studio, both studios have to agree that I will switch from this studio to this studio. And actors and actresses back then had like contracts where it was like, if you gained like 5 pounds, like you owed them money, like a fine, or if you changed your hair, if you changed anything about you, because they wanted. Movies back then were such assembly line. Like, today when we have cars, every car is the exact same. Back then, every movie had to be the exact same because that's how you made money. And so then you have people like Charlie Chaplin, and then you have people like Orson Welles, who they came in with their own ideas, especially Orson Welles, who wasn't in the cinema community. He was just an actor. He was supposed to be just an actor, and then last minute he was decided to be the director. There was some kind of mix-up, so he became the director. So he didn't know these rules about cinema and what you had to do and what you couldn't do, and that you had to stick to this specific script is what I meant. And so that's where you get a lot of his. It was considered. I would think it would be considered an independent film because he didn't really stick to the script of what studios were doing at the time. But anyways, go with what you wanted to say.
To me, it is amazing the amount of work you can put into something if you're passionate about it.
Oh, yes.
Because there's this one guy, I'm probably going to butcher the name, he's a French video game designer named Eric Chahi. It's French. Hold up.
Eric Chahi.
That was pretty close.
Yeah. He's developed 2 or 3 games. His main one, the first one that he ever made, was Another World. He made from the ground up, in his apartment, on his computer, from the ground up. He designed the game, he laid out the game, he acted in scenes and rotoscope animated them by himself. And the music was written by him, and I believe a friend of his who may have been a girlfriend at the time. And it is astonishing how amazing this game is.
Really?
Yes, and because he made it himself and he made it from the ground up, it's not like any other game you're going to play.
Yeah. It's going to be completely his ideas.
Yes. So what the basic premise is, you're in a spaceship, you crash, this character crashes on a different world, another world. I wonder where he got the name from. He crashes on this alien planet, and the goal is to just survive. Mm-hmm. And when you land, it tells you a perfect example of minimalism. It tells you nothing. There's nothing to do. You're just standing. The character's standing there. You don't even know if it's started yet. And you press the button and you move, and then you press a couple other buttons and you find out you can run or jump or whatever. And the tutorial is literally you walking all the way to the right, stopping, and then this creature, like a animal, chases you, and then you die because you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then so the entire game is sort of based off of this sort of trial and error kind of gameplay, almost like early Dark Souls kind of gameplay, where you learn by failing. And so what you have to do is always very niche and very specific to what he thought you had to do. And so the gameplay is excruciatingly frustrating because you're just failing over and you're dying over and over and over and over again till finally you learn this one part, right? And then you go and you get to the next part and then you die and have to do the first part again.
Wow, yeah.
So, but its story is beautiful. Its gameplay is so pretty, and it's got such the most lovable character design in a side character I have ever seen. It's just this huge alien. You get locked up in a jail cell by these alien police people, and you're locked in a jail cell with just some other alien who's just huge, kind of got like a manatee head, but it's so minimalistic you can't really tell.
Okay.
And the only thing he says is, "My Kruba." That's it. That's all he says. And then from that moment on, you two are best friends.
That's great.
It's so great. And he designed it. It just blows my mind. He designed it over like 2 years, all by himself.
Yeah.
Just in a room. He was like, I have an idea for a video game. And this isn't not a new game. This game came out in... it's a good question. It's a good question. It was old. It was very old.
I'm going to take a stab at it. 2007.
1991. So you were close.
Dang!
Yeah, 1991. Back when computers were barely a thing. He was like, I am going to make a video game. And he did, and it is so fun. It is so great.
Where do you even get the idea? Like, I mean, it's not the very beginning of computers, but, I mean, that's the start of, like, home computers.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you come up with the idea of a video game? I mean, was that a thing at the time?
I mean, yeah, there were video games out. That was, like, the arcade cabinet.
Oh, that's
sort
right.
of
Of course there was... Yeah. Arcade... Yeah. Not, like... personal games though, not
many. I don't know if this came out in a cabinet.
Obviously, there's games.
It was developed for the Atari, but it was
okay.
So it didn't come out in a cabinet. It came out as one of the very first sort of like at home games, and it just blew the market. And he's made 2 or 3 other games. One of them I think being Heart of Darkness. Yeah, Another World was his big... It wasn't his first game. Oh, wow. He'd been making games since 83.
Wow.
He had been working on games. But Heart of Darkness was sort of his baby child. Another World was his baby child. And then Heart of Darkness. And then he inspired titles such as Ico, Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill, and Delphine's later Flashback. Delphine Software being the publisher that gave out the game. So yeah, it's just his vision of a game. It sparked so many. It sparked Metal Gear Solid, Kojima, and the Metal Gear Solid franchise. That's huge. Kojima is one of the number 1 video game developers of video games ever. That's like one of the names.
Really?
Yeah, there's Konami and Kojima. They're the 2 big Japanese developers that are just well known for their pop culture influence. So it's just like this tiny little guy who's like, hey, cool, I'm gonna make a video game about a guy crashing on a different world, and just the waves that he created with just such barely a project, you know?
Yeah.
Just like
a passion project.
Yeah, it's a passion project, something so small, and it's just that kind of stuff, and it is, snowballed into so many different things.
I mean, it shows, and I love what you said about when you're really passionate about something, you go and do it. Like, nothing's gonna get in your way. He didn't have a team to help him. He just had this idea, and he just knew that he wanted to make it, so he just went and did it. And it's the same things that you have to do when you have an idea in cinema. Like, you can't get, and this is something that I've had to learn, you can't get bogged down in what you don't have. You need to know that you have an idea and that you want to get it made, and you have such a passion for it that you go and do it, even if you're doing it by yourself. And it just shows that what can happen when you do go and make it. Because if he had made this, then what you're talking about, these big companies, the big studios that have the big games now and everything was because of him. I'm sorry, I don't remember the names.
Kojima and Konami.
Okay, those maybe wouldn't have been a thing if it wasn't for his video game or his just little side passion project that he probably didn't think was going to go anywhere or do anything.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, it didn't. I'm being real. It's one of those cult classic games where when it first came out, it was sort of like, oh, this is a cool game, look at its design. And it became very obscure and sort of pushed into the background as compared to all of these other games that were coming out at the time on the Atari. And then the Atari just sort of died. And then and then out comes the Super Nintendo or the Nintendo Entertainment System, and sort of blew the Atari out of the water. And so that game just sort of kind of got forgotten. Until recently, the 15th anniversary of its release a couple years ago, they dropped a remake of it, like a remastered version with completely fleshed out graphics. Same game, just the only thing they changed was the graphics.
Better
and
graphics.
So it sort of took a rise again.
Mm-hmm.
People were like, oh, what's this game? And they looked at it and they're like, oh, it's terrible. It's really hard. And then people that were like, oh, this was the game that I played as a child. Those are the people that played it again.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I think it's great. I think it's a good uplifting story about what a passion project can turn into.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a good place to sort of kind of end with what we've been talking about.
Go after your dreams. Do your passion project. Even if you're the only one working on it, do it. Just get it done.
Yeah, just get it done. And that's one thing that I've been working on recently is just like, heckin' getting it done.
Just get it done.
Like, there's so much stuff that I'm like, oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do this. And then I would just sit down and I would just do it.
Yeah, just go do it.
Anyway, I kind of want to end with a thing, and I'm not sure how you feel about it. Pick just one movie that's just like one independent movie. It could be something you mentioned. It could be a movie you didn't mention that you're like sort of encapsulates this idea that we've been watching, like a recommendation basically. Mm-hmm. And then, do we start?
Yeah.
Okay.
I figured out what I wanted to say, but you go first.
Okay. I'll be honest. I kind of came up with this on the spot because I wanted to end on something other than let's just end it here. But one game that I have thoroughly always enjoyed is, I mentioned at the beginning and I never really got into it, is Shovel Knight. Mm-hmm. Beautiful 8-bit game made by Yacht Club Games, I believe. And one thing that I love about it is that like we said, they had that liberty, though they were constrained technologically. I think they chose to go with the 8-bit idea, so they constrained themselves that way. But the stories that they tell are very much like they're deep. They're not just like surface level. And if you purchase the first one right now is called Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. I believe they plan on making a sequel. Mm-hmm. But the reason they named it that is because when they first made the game, it was just Shovel Knight. And then they released free DLC by keeping the game the same price. So in the gaming industry, when you release a game, about a year after its release, you drop the price, and so that it will keep selling. So because no one's going to buy a $60 game that's 2 years old, mm-hmm. right? But what they did is they kept it at $20 the entire time, and they gave out free DLC for anyone who purchases the game. It could have been $30, $20 or $30, mm-hmm. Just that sort of half price. And every story in that is ridiculous. Are you going to sniff into the mic? Are you trying to... What are you...
I did.
I cannot believe you.
I'm sorry.
Why did you sniff it? I was talking about something really special to me.
And I was listening to you.
Yeah, and no, you were sniffing.
No, I was listening to you, and then I got really close to my mic, and then I had a waft of it, because it smells like disinfectant, and then I just got really close to it and sniffed it. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Continue.
No. What you're doing is way more important. No, but every story in that game, there's, I think, 4 storylines in this first installment, and they are all so good. And they're so enthralling and sort of a little bit heartbreaking at some points and uplifting at other points. Just well-written stories on what doesn't look like a super duper, like, crazy, bombastic drop of a game. It's just a quaint little 8-bit platformer with a knight that wields a shovel. It's not a whole lot to look at from that side, but when you look at the story and you look at what they intended, it's just a beautiful game.
Yeah. I was just gonna say Hereditary, because we didn't really get to touch on that much except for like the special effects. It's definitely an independent film, and it is one of those films that when you watch it touches on some very heavy subjects, and maybe some subjects that if it was a studio movie wouldn't have made it through. And there's also, again, a deeper meaning in it, which is it's an interesting movie. I mean, I think you said that you've seen it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, like one of those movies you got to watch more than once, but you don't want to.
You don't want to. It's one of those, the director's towing the line of trying to scar you or not. But no, definitely watch it and just look at it from a critical point of view of how, because this was an independent film, that this got to be what it was, and the meaning behind it that comes out of it. No, definitely, and like we said, for the special, not the special effects, but the what did you call it? Do you not know what I'm talking about?
No, like everything that we've talked about has already gone out.
Okay, well, look at the effects that are used and how they work throughout the film, and the deeper meaning, as well as just how it got made. I mean, really, if you think of it, it again, it touches on such heavy topics and it really surprises you with what it shows you, and sometimes you think, like, why am I seeing this? I should not be seeing what is going on.
This is not something that should be happening.
Yeah.
Good movie.
Definitely good movie.
Definitely not for the faint of hearted. Definitely a tough watch. More of a horror movie than some of the other things we've mentioned. Super duper spooky. Yeah, no, I think that is good for the first one. That's great. Hopefully we'll be releasing these in some sort of format eventually. But yeah.
No, this is all just for fun. This is just for us.
Nah, this is just we're never going to put this out
Never going to put this out.
I can't wait until it gets out and everyone hears us say that. All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us on this intellectual journey. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Media for the Intellectually Impoverished is produced by Trey Taylor Smith and Miranda Randi Zabst.
Follow us on Instagram or Twitter at MFTII Podcast, or email us at mftiipodcast@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening.